AI feels useless in your business for one of three reasons. Number one is bad prompting. Number two is bad integrations. And number three is bad data. And so in this video, I'm going to explain why each of these problems exist and what it takes for you to fix them. So starting off with bad prompting, what you have to understand is that AI outputs are almost completely random at times. So ask yourself this question: why is it possible to prompt ChatGPT the same thing twice in a row and get a completely different output each time? Because isn't AI just numbers and math? Shouldn't it be the same both times? To explain why this happens, I want to show you why LLMs actually do what they do. So here we have an incomplete sentence, right? The smartest person of all time is blank. What LLMs do is they basically produce a list of words and assign a probability to each word. And so it determines that, for example, in this case, that the word sir is the most likely word to come next. And so it would put the word sir here, right? It'll choose the most likely word and then fill in the sentence. But the thing is, these AI models are programmed at random to sometimes, instead of choosing the first most likely word, they choose the second most likely word, or even sometimes the third most likely word, because that allows for a more natural sounding output. And it's for that reason that AI models basically output at random. And that's why you can prompt ChatGPT the same thing twice in a row and it will randomly give you a different output. It's because of that. And so if you are using AI in your business and you are prompting ChatGPT stuff like this: make me a social media post for my XYZ business, code me a website for my XYZ business, or even write me an ad script for my XYZ business, you are effectively gambling and just hoping that ChatGPT randomly outputs something that converts well. Because these are the type of prompts that ChatGPT could literally answer in a million different ways. So what's the solution to this? Well, the solution is two things: specificity and direction. And now, because you are not my clients and I cannot know what particular business outcome you are trying to achieve with AI, there's no way for me to give you the exact prompt that you need. What I can do is just give you a bunch of prompting advice that I use personally. So I'm going to show you this right now. So the first prompting technique that I want to show you is something called conditional loops. So if you've ever done computer programming before and you know what an if conditional loop is, basically you do a thing only if something else is true. So for example, if my wrists are in pain, then I will not bench press at the gym. And so this is what this would look like in an actual logical structure. The condition is, do my wrists hurt? And then if the answer is yes, then I do not bench press, right? Because I don't want to have chronic wrist pain, of course. If the answer is no, then I do bench press. And so what a lot of people don't realize is that AI, well, you can actually program this type of logical structure into ChatGPT or any AI model with natural language, and you don't have to use computer programming. This can be used in so many different ways if you know how to take advantage of this, because AI can respond in a different way depending on a certain condition, right? And AI will actually understand the directions. So I think a lot of people don't realize how programmable these AI models are. They're actually really good at following logical directions. And the next one that I'm going to show you is actually going to help you take advantage of conditional loops a lot more, which is called intent reading. Okay, so if you use ChatGPT and you are one of these people who talks to ChatGPT a lot, you probably know already that ChatGPT or any AI model, just replace, when I say ChatGPT, you can just replace that with your model of choosing. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter. You probably know that these AI models are really, really good at listening, right? You can yap nonsensically to an AI model and it will usually understand what you're trying to say perfectly, even if you're, speaking super unclearly and your grammar is terrible and, you could literally be drunk and rambling over your words, and AI will like perfectly understand what you're trying to say. And so you can take advantage of this by reading the intent of a specific message. The specific use case that comes to mind for me is a lead nurture automation. So, like, for example, if you had some type of automation where it sends like an email back and forth with a customer and it's like responding to their emails, what it can do is basically recognize when the person sending the email wants to buy or doesn't want to buy or has some type of intention, right? That might not be explicitly stated in the message. But AI can pick up on that and like use that for a conditional loop. So like the way you could combine these two together is like you could use a conditional loop where the condition is if the user, wants to buy or whatever, like if it seems like they are able to buy or if they are a qualified prospect based on what they're saying, you could then have AI respond in a different way depending on whether or not the answer to that question is no, right? So you can make really, really sophisticated lead nurture follow-up automations using these two prompting structures. Now, what about if you're doing something that's a little bit more technical, like you're trying to use AI to code a website for you? Well, I'm going to show you how I would do something like that. And the key here is specificity. You want to be really, really specific about what you want the AI model to actually do for you. Because again, otherwise, if you are not specific, if you do not outright say what you want the AI model to do, it's going to be a randomized output because of what I discussed earlier. So as you can see here, I'm using Claude just because it has a visual code interface so you guys can see the result once I'm done here. Design me a website for my home repair business. The headlines are 30 pixels in Poppins font. The body is Arial. The black page background. Keep the padding at 0 for all elements. Left and right margin at 20 pixels and up and down margin at 30 pixels. And then I hit enter. Now you guys can see the output on the right side of my screen here. I would definitely go through and obviously edit this website some more. This is very clearly not a complete website, but as you can see, it did follow my instructions. The spacing between the elements is 20 pixels. The vertical up and down margin is 30 pixels. The point I'm trying to make is that you need to say exactly what you want the AI model to do. Otherwise, it will be random. And the thing is, it's harder to use ChatGPT for something if you don't already know how to do it yourself. So because I've coded tons of websites and I've literally coded websites in raw HTML and I've done that dozens of times, I know how to describe in language what I want the AI model to do, right? And because of that, my outputs are in general going to be better because I'm able to be more specific. If someone doesn't have the knowledge of website design like I do, then they will struggle to actually describe what they want to the AI, and thus the AI outputs are going to be randomized. One more thing that I want to demonstrate really quick is that you can specify what type of output you want the AI model to give you. So the same output can be delivered in multiple different ways. And so I wrote the same prompt 3 times here. One of them I asked for the answer in a CSV file. One of them I asked for the answer in a text file. And one of them I asked for the answer in plain text in chat. And so if I click enter on all 3 of these, you'll see it gave me the answer in plain text. It gave me the answer as a downloadable text file. And it also gave me the answer as a downloadable CSV. So sometimes what's wrong with your prompting is not necessarily the prompting itself, but is the output that you ask ChatGPT to give it to you as. Okay, number 2 here is bad integrations. And to be honest, I think this is the number 1 mistake that holds most business owners back with using AI in an actual profitable way. The thing is, you're missing the part that actually allows AI to do stuff in your business. So there's the AI model itself, right? And then there's the actual functions that you need to get done with AI in your business. The part that you're missing is the integrations that basically allow that to happen, right? And you don't have the technical setup that allows AI to perform tasks, right? And for this, you want to use something like N8N or something like ChatGPT's own flow, because that actually allows you to do stuff like with AI rather than just having it as a chat bot. And I'm not going to let this video turn into some N8N technical tutorial, but what you have to know is that AI can basically do anything on your computer on its own. But for example, if I asked ChatGPT to send an email follow-up sequence to one of my customers and do it based on a specific trigger and integrate a database so it can pull customer data and then personalize the message, it cannot do that because it doesn't have the right integrations, right? That's not a problem with the AI. That's not a problem with your prompting. That's not even a problem with your lack of data. That's literally just that you don't have the technical setup that allows AI to automate the tasks. Probably the most important technical integration that I can think of right now for a local business owner such as yourself is something that allows AI model to send messages to humans, right? So something that you can connect to send DMs, to send text messages, to make phone calls, and to send emails too. One software that I will recommend, because I'm assuming since you're watching this video on YouTube, you probably use social media to advertise your business. I recommend that you use ManyChat to automate sending social media DMs with AI. And I'm not affiliated with this brand. This is just the #1 software to do this type of stuff. It allows you to integrate your own ChatGPT account with it. And then you can do all that, customized prompting. You can build flows so it sends messages in specific sequences. And then you can use those prompting techniques that I showed you earlier, like conditional responses and intent reading, to change your DM sequences based on what it reads from the user. Okay, and then #3 here is bad data. So what you have to understand is that AI is a very generalized intelligence. It's a combination of data from millions and millions of different sources. Every bad BuzzFeed article, Wikipedia articles, books, social media comment threads, all of it. It combines all of that data together and it creates a very generalized intelligence, right? So it's pretty good at a lot of different things. But for example, if you asked ChatGPT to create a winning ad script for you, ChatGPT doesn't know what a winning ad actually is, right? It can't make all the nuanced little decisions that go into crafting a winning ad, like knowing the marketplace, knowing copywriting fundamentals. All it's really doing is just kind of like I showed you earlier, it's choosing which word comes next based on what are essentially mathematical equations, right? It has these weights and then it basically guesses which word comes next. It's not critical thinking. It's not like really reasoning on its own necessarily. You also don't have the data. So ChatGPT has definitely been trained on winning ads before at some point, right? But that doesn't mean that you're just going to be able to say to ChatGPT, hey, give me a winning ad script, and then it's going to give it back to you. That's not going to happen, right? Because AI is combined with so much different data, it would be like pouring a bottle of lemonade into the Pacific Ocean and then hoping that you could just scoop all the lemonade back out, right? It would be impossible because it would be mixed together with the water. And that's kind of the same thing. Is like AI is very generalized. It's very mixed together, I guess. It's a bunch of data, a bunch of knowledge that's all sort of combined. So AI is really, really bad at critical thinking, right? It's really bad at reasoning at a high level on complex multi-step problems. What AI is really good at is pattern matching and replication, right? So if you were to take data of 100 winning ads from the Meta Ads library or something like that, you could then feed that data to ChatGPT and then it would be able to craft a really good winning ad for you because it has data on what ads are performing in the marketplace and then it can just replicate that data, right? Another good example of this is copywriting. So if you have a particular brand and your brand sort of has a voice, if you know what I mean, like when you write stuff for your marketing, it sort of sounds in a particular way. What you can do is you can feed a bunch of text that is in your brand's voice to ChatGPT, and it will be able to replicate that voice with in any sort of way that you want it to, right? So if you feed data to ChatGPT, There's many different things that you can replicate and create really really quickly. And so yeah, if you have good prompting and you have good integrations, but you're just lacking the data that you need for ChatGPT to actually perform a specific function that it can't do without data, then that's a problem in and of itself. Hopefully this video was useful to you. Hopefully it explains some of why AI feels useless to you. And yeah, good luck.